8:45 a.m. Welcome back to the program. Today, Wednesday, where the unions are calling for a national shutdown. Is this good for the country? What does that mean to the economy? And more interestingly, what is the type of losses we can expect to see on this 1 day stay away in South Africa? COSATU is calling on the broader South African public to join the nationwide strike against the high cost of living. We have on standby Sandile Swana, political analyst, to talk about this matter. A very good morning to you, Sandile. Welcome to the program.
Good morning to you, Julie, and to your listeners.
Your thoughts on the national strike? COSATU is taking to the streets at 10 o'clock this morning throughout South Africa. Obviously, SAFTU has also embarking on their own strike. What does this mean for the country? Are they going to be heard? Is it going to make a difference as far as the cost of living is concerned?
I suppose all of us would be quick to agree that the cost of living in South Africa is out of control and somebody needs to do something about it. More specifically, the state president and the economic cluster of the government, the various provincial MECs of economic development and the local economic development units of various municipalities. Now, the persons that can actually solve the issue of cost of living is the state through macroeconomic policy, monetary policies, industrialization policies, and so on. So for people like COSATU who are in partnership with the ANC to be striking in the streets and inconveniencing the whole public when they are spending every evening in bed with the ANC, there is a problem there. And they have their own comrades. Cyril Ramaphosa himself comes from the trade union background. The Minister of Finance comes from the trade union background. Gwede Mantashe comes from that. Patel comes from that. So it's a disaster of thinking. It is more of an intellectual disaster than anything else that we are facing, where the thinking is substantially below standard.
So, Sandile, what is very confusing and also hurtful is that they're calling for this national strike, SAFTU included, and government has said quite clearly, no work, no pay. So once again, it's the ordinary working class person who's not going to work today. They're going to go out in their droves, they're going to strike, but they're not going to get paid today. Zwelinzima Vavi was put a question yesterday. A question was put to him by another media platform to ask him, is he going to forfeit his pay for today as far as strike action is concerned? And I was quite taken back by his response. And he said, we as union leaders, we see strike actions almost on a daily basis throughout the country. And if we have to forego our pay for that day, we'll end up with nothing in our pockets. Those were not his exact words, but the gist of what he had responded to. So basically, what I'm reading from that response is the fat cats are getting fatter and the poor people are doing all the dirty work by taking to the streets and foregoing their pay for the day, which they can ill afford.
Yes, the issue here is that Zwelinzima Vavi says that people must withdraw their labor from the capitalist system right now. That's what a strike is. You just withdraw your labor, which means within the toolbox of our trade unions, they have not been creative enough to find other strategies of actually dealing with the political problems, because this is a political problem, because it's a policy problem in South Africa. When you look at the Scandinavian countries, Sweden among others, you discover that they will tell you that in order to strengthen democracy and to strengthen the position of the workers and the working class versus the capitalists, you actually must create conditions of full employment. So in South Africa today, you have a shortage of jobs. You have rising living costs, which means even the wages, the real wages are declining because you buy less and less with the money that you are getting, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, the position of unions is exceptionally weak. So if I were to use military terms to try and describe the situation, in the military, when you are weak, you change to guerrilla tactics. You can't engage in conventional warfare. So I am then saying, first of all the workers and their leaders and the working class in general need to realize that this is a time to change tactics. Their position is exceptionally weak, extraordinarily weak. Unions do not become strong when the economy is weak. They actually become weaker. So their tactics needs to change. So whether Vavi gets his wages or gets his salary or not is not the issue even. The issue is that the tactics that they are using are not suitable for the current environment.
Sandile, it's still an issue. The fat cat union leaders are not going to have a no work, no pay day as far as they're concerned. They're still going to get paid, but it's the poor workers that are going to be feeling the brunt of not getting paid today. But that being said, do you believe that unions are still relevant, very especially since you say, and we all know it, that COSATU is in bed with the ANC? So what's the point of them having this labor union supposedly representing the working class? And then let's go back to October last year. They had strike action there again, but nothing came of it. There was a stay away. But can you tell me if anything was productive in terms of the betterment of the working class?
The position of the working class, as I have said, right now it's very weak. And if you remember when NUMSA broke away from COSATU, part of the reason why they broke away was that they were becoming a sweetheart union with the ANC. The ANC has got co-option strategies. They give them cabinet posts. They do all sorts of things. So, unfortunately, the people who are in SAF, including Vaki, the people who are in NUMSA, have not divorced the useless and ineffective methods of pursuing struggle. And the struggle of the poor people in South Africa is a very serious struggle. The struggle of the workers who are working, sometimes they're working poor and most of the time, and so on. Those struggles, you can even say, have not started. The thing that they say is the struggle is for the most part a joke, because the issue that needs to be pursued long term is the issue of full employment in South Africa. Every able South African must have a job.
And of course, wages that absolutely allows the working class to be able to put bread on the table, because the wages are not in line with the rising cost of living. That's the one issue. We also have to look at these ongoing strike actions that the unions are calling for. Why do they not have strike action against corruption of government ministers and officials? That's the strike action we're wanting to see. We need more action as far as calling public officials to account. Then we'll know that the unions are serious about their role. That's the one issue. Also, what do you read into the matter with Santaco not joining the strike action today?
Let's start with the straightforward one. Santaco are not workers. Santaco are business owners. They run taxis. These are capitalists. So they cannot join a strike. And Blade in Zimande made this clear long ago. So Santaco is not a union. Santaco is at best an industry federation of some kind, of capital. These are capitalists. Now, the issue that you are raising is that successful companies like Eskom, Transnet, SAA, and so on have collapsed via corruption and mismanagement, whilst COSATU and SAFTU members were present and not actually taking steps to stamp out the corruption and actually taking to the streets and organizing strategic protest action and struggle. So a lot of the problems that we are facing have been caused by co-opted union leaders who are in bed with the kleptocracy, the gangster politicians who have been thieving the resources that are supposed to protect South Africans from poverty, to make sure that the Islam eradication in South Africa and people are put in proper housing, that there is free education from sub A to PhD in South Africa. All of those things have been squandered by thieves who are in bed with our trade union leaders, and the trade union leaders themselves, for the longest time now, have abandoned the struggle of the ordinary masses on the ground, and instead have been attending many luxuries with the gangster politicians.
Final two questions, because my next guest is standing by, but they're very important questions that I do need answered. Do you believe that today's exercise is really a waste of time and money as far as COSATU and SAFTU is concerned, calling people to take to the streets in protest? And Thabo Mbeki having said that this might be the beginning of the Arab Spring in South Africa. Is that something really to be worried about?
I don't think personally I would be worried about an Arab Spring in South Africa. I would actually encourage it. I think that all of us have got to admit that, as Valvi correctly points out, this needs to be a kickoff point of a long-term campaign for fundamental transformation of the South African economy and South African society. Basically, by now, whatever we thought we had achieved in 1994 is gone. It has been neutralized by all sorts of reckless behavior. So I would be happy if an Arab Spring were to take place.
Sure. And that's where we leave it till I meet you the next time. It's a pity we didn't
Thank
have
you.
enough time to cover all the bases, but I always enjoy picking your brain on these very, very important issues that impact on all of us as South Africans. So till the next time, stay safe. Just
Thank you, Julie.
very quickly, Sandile, do you believe today's efforts by the unions is a waste of time?
I
Yes
don't.
or no?
I don't believe that. I believe it's the right step.
Okay, great on you. Thank you for being
Thank
with us.
you. Bye.
It is exactly 8:58. In a minute or two, we'll be joined by Dick Forslin to talk about the issue around the decline in the unemployment rate in South Africa.